Hi, my name is Tim Gard. I'm here to offer to you an invitation to become involved in an online discussion about renewable energy. And while renewable energy is somewhat well known these days, there's a sinister background to it that you may not be aware of. And if you are going to be involved in having this discussion, you need to be aware of the sinister background. We have had the ability to develop and expand renewable energies for over 100 years. We have had some very talented and intelligent people who have put together systems that would deliver energy in a renewable source for free to people. But you look around today and there is no renewable energy source that wholly functions on its own. And you're told that our science capabilities can't do that today. Now, let me explain to you why that is. We are under full control of an ancient group of people who understand that if renewable energy becomes successful, they are out of business and will never be back in business again. And the identification of those people are fossil fuel people, people who sell oil, people who sell coal, and even people who sell nuclear energy. If we figure out how to generate electricity with the natural elements that we have in our own neighborhoods, we will no longer have a need for fossil fuels at all. And if you want to look at that a little bit closer, look at it from this point of view. If we put together a system that, let's say, uses the wind in our local neighborhoods for energy, once we build the machine to gather that energy, that wind is brought to us naturally for free. So the cost of getting it is free. If you want to get your electricity from coal, first of all, you have to acquire the land. And then the landowner is going to dictate to you what you're going to pay for the coal when you take it out of his land. And then once you get it out of his land, you've got to get it to a point where you can use it to generate electricity. So now you have to put in thousands of miles of railroad tracks. And those railroad tracks need to be maintained on a regular basis. And that is not cheap maintenance. And you are going to have to pay for the land, pay them for the land that they use to put the tracks down. And you are going to have to pay to have very large and expensive transport cars built for the coal. And you are going to have to pay for very large and expensive prime movers, engines, to move that coal down those tracks. And then once you pay for all of that, you finally get it to a location where you put it in huge piles, but it's still not electricity. Then you're going to have to pay for large pieces of equipment to move that coal from the ground where it's been dumped by the railroads into a building. And then you are going to have to pay for that building. And you are going to have to pay for the equipment to move that coal into a place where they can put it in a huge furnace. And you're going to have to pay for that furnace. And then you are going to have to pay for the scrubbers to take the dangerous chemicals out of the fumes from the coal when you burn it. And then you are going to have to pay for the boilers that generate the steam, and then you are going to have to pay for the turbines that turn the generators, and then you are going to have to pay for the generators that generate the electricity, and that goes with all of the control rooms and all of the equipment that it takes to get that electricity out from that generator, meaning all of the wires and all of the poles and all of the land that has to be used, and all of the insurance that all of this takes back from the time the first ounce of coal is taken out of the ground. And you are going to have to pay all of the governments the tax for all of these lands that these power companies are using to get the electricity to you. Now, when we're talking about renewable energy being free, this is what we're talking about, the cost of energy. If you eliminate all of those high wires, all of those transmission poles, all of those insurances, all of those huge generators, all of those steam systems, all of that coal, all of those trains, all of that mining, all of that land, if you eliminate all of that, when you finally get down to the end user, that's you and me, your electric bills for your heat, your light, and your transportation in electric automobiles is going to run you about $200 a year. Because the energy is continued for free forever. As long as you need it, the wind will be blowing. As long as you need it, the sun will be shining. As long as you need it, there will be geothermal energy if it was under your feet now. And as long as you need it, there will be waves moving and elevated water falling. The systems need to be maintained that gather it, but those systems aren't anywhere near as expensive as what the fossil fuel industry needs to bring you, what they need to bring you for energy. They know this. They know if renewable energies become successful, they're dead in the water. So whenever anybody opens a solar panel manufacturing plant, big oil is there. They make sure they're in their boardrooms. And they make sure that the people on those boards know that the price of going against fossil fuels is going to be more than they want to pay. Because the fossil fuel companies control the governments. And if all of a sudden you have to shell out $10 million for an environmental impact study that you're going to fail, anybody in their right mind would never invest in renewable energies. So while we're having these discussions about what we could do, we need to understand that big oil is not going to let us do it. It doesn't matter whether we come up with a solution or not, because if we become successful at this, big oil is out of business, and they know it. And they're going to spend every dollar that they have to in order to keep renewable energy from becoming a viable option for the people on the planet. They like the position they're in, and they will pay anything to keep it. And frankly, they will kill anybody that needs to be killed in order for them to keep it. That sounds pretty terrible. But if you do the research, like with any science, if you do the research and you take the notes and you draw your conclusions from the answers you get, you will find that that is exactly what has happened to a number of people who have gone head to head with the fossil fuel industry. So, what we're putting together is basically a group of people who simply have a curiosity. People who would like to talk about what the possibilities might be. Understanding that there's a good probability that even when we come up with the answers, we're not going to be allowed to use them. Or maybe we will. Maybe enough people will get together where they'll say, no, when we're doing this here in our town, and you and your people show up for environmental impact studies show up, we're not going to let you in our town. We will send our local constable down and escort you off the property. Because this is our property, not the federal government, not the state, not the county. This is our property. We pay you taxes to serve us, not the other way around. And there may be whole countries that would be willing to say, enough is enough. We want the shackles of the oil industries thrown off of our people. We don't want to be forced to kowtow down to them. Now, would that be something we would do? Well, that's entirely up to you. I'm 65 years old. I don't have that much power. I don't have that much ability. I don't have that much time. But if together in a discussion as a group, we may pull together some rather wealthy people who would be on our side and who would say, okay, look, we can fight this, we can get through it, and we might be able to find some answers to those problems. At the very least, we'll learn some things that are very interesting. If you would be interested in being involved in putting together this group for conversation and for meetings, you can reach me at my email address. It's dragmit5000@gmail.com. That's my name spelled backwards, DRAGMIT, the number 5000@gmail.com. And we can start having a discussion online about how we might put together a website where we would maybe have occasional meetings on YouTube or something, and leave it open live for people to call in and ask questions. If you'd like to do that, send me off an email, and see if we can get a group of people together to sit down and have some real interesting scientific discussions on the powers of renewable energy and how we could use renewable energy to power the world. Thanks.